Well, we're excited to get the season going, and personally, I'm really excited. I haven't feel like I'm kind of got my old self back, and it's been a while since I woke up 3 or 4 days in a row with a smile on my face. So, ready to get going. We've got a exciting team that we can't wait to put on the floor once we figure out who and what we are, and that's what we're doing right now, trying to figure out who and what we are. And so we're getting close to that, but we don't quite know right now. So, but when we get it figured out, watch out. This is going to be a really good basketball team. Questions?
Talk about the process of figuring out, who and what we are. What does that process kind of look like for you guys?
Well, one of the things that when after the season and we came through the summer, we knew exactly how we were going to play and who was going to play. And when you lose a part that we lost with Greg, we had to change our identity just a little bit. And so we're still in that process of kind of figuring out how that's going to work a little bit. And I got an idea of what I want, but sometimes as a coach, it's not so much what you want, what fits the personality. And so the new guys have caught up a little quicker than I thought. And so we're just, do you play a guy like Percy and DB for 38, 39 minutes and become more traditional? It's hard for me to do that because in 40 years I've been in coaching, I've never done that before. So some of the change is not with them, it's with me. And how do we address that? So usually what happens when a player graduates, you replace them because you recruited someone in those positions. Well, of course, we didn't get that opportunity. So we're just still trying to figure some of those things out, but we got dynamic guard play. I think the best guard play, since I've been here, the best guard play we ever had. And so you might see at times 4 or 5 guards on the floor at one time. And so those are the types of things. We're just trying to figure out some of those things in that regards. But we're getting closer and closer to that.
Talk about not being able to fill that from a recruiting standpoint, the loss of Greg, but just the void of player leadership. I guess how much does that really matter this season for these guys?
Well, again, I think that's I can't appoint something to you are a leader. You either a leader or you're not. You're born with that. I'm a true believer. I don't think you can make someone a leader in that regard. But I think our guys have done a great job, especially our captains. We had a private dinner the other day, just the 3 of us, and talking about. You might have to do some things outside your box in regards to communication. We laugh because Greg Glenn dominated our timeouts with us talking. And there's going to be good parts that I'm glad that's gone. And I pray to him all the time because he dominated that. So now there has to be an Asher or it has to be Percy. Those are quiet kids. But the best teams in college basketball, the best teams in the NBA, the best teams in football, whatever, are driven by the players, not the coaches. And once you're driven by the players, and it's a players team, and that's what we're getting to. It can't be my voice 40 minutes of the game. And so we're still working on that part. There's got to be some more. And so I'm going to learn to, and I told them, I'm going to sit down about 32 minutes of the game. I'm not going to talk for about 32 minutes of the game. I'm just going to sit there and let them figure it out. So you're going to see the new Coach Hunter on the sideline now.
So by modern college basketball standards, your team qualifies as having incredible continuity, which is insane to say. But you've got 5 of your top 10 guys back, and a lot of the teams in this league have none of their top their guys back. It's like all new rosters. How much can having guys that have been in your program before help you this year?
Extremely helpful. And so, as I told our staff, we have to, you got to use your experience. And what's been tough is that we brought in some really good players. And so sometimes you bring in players and they may be more talented than the guys that are coming back, but the guy understands the system. And so that's one of those things, are you playing experience or are you playing talent early? You may play talent early and you may lose some games because they don't have experience, versus the other way around. So that's what we're trying to balance right now. Do we play our experience group early and let the new guys kind of figure it out, or we just throw the new guys in right away, kind of like what we did last year, and it took us to about late December before we got it figured out. So I'm in that. I would like to win a little bit earlier this year than we did last year, so we're just trying to figure that part of it out.
And the last time we talked to you, you mentioned Davion Bradford.
Yeah.
Just anybody else, how has he continued to play at that level, and who else have you really liked?
Well, I think the guy that quietly, to be honest with you, has gotten better and better every practice has been Tyler Ringo. Tyler has really gotten a lot better. Understands our systems. He's lost some body fat and turned that into muscle. And so I think that Tyler's one of those guys that I think is from a year ago to now will be a big key to what we do, especially because of how we want to play. If we want to play a lot like we used to play with the Kevin Crosses and the Greg Glenns, then it may be easier to go that route. Or do we go big and have a 7'1", 270 guy that's in the paint? And so the problem with that is he's got to get to that corner and defend those threes. And so we're still trying to work on that. But it's great to have him or have that as an asset if we need it.
You said you got your old self back.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Could you go into a little bit more detail of what you mean by that?
Yeah, just about, and I think my wife told me this the other day, waking up smiling more. What happens is, the last 6 months, man, the last 3 or 4 months have just been, it's been a lot. We lost, my wife lost her mother, lost my mother-in-law right after Greg passed. So we've gone through a lot. And so just the last few weeks, just waking up and being happy, excited to go coach these guys, getting after them. Games are coming. You guys know I love the games. I love to be able to coach the games and those type of things. And so I'm just feeling more like myself. I can't ask my team to be something if I'm not who I am. And so the last week or so, I feel like I'm back to that, doing that. And so, and what's helped me are these guys. I'll be honest with you. When you're around 18 to 22-year-olds all the time, I even started listening to some of their music lately, and that's just, I think sometimes I probably need to be depressed to listen to their music, but I just feel more like I'm back to myself again with that.
And then Tyler playing the 4 spot, and then you also said possibly Percy could be coming out to there as well. Do you see any other guys possibly rotating in at number 4 spot and coming in, see what they could do?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what do you mean the 4 spot?
Power forward, sorry.
Yeah, again, you have to know our system a little bit. One of the things that I pride myself on is that the other team has a very difficult time guarding us. And so I'm trying to get it to that, whether that's through a 4 or 5 of those things, or whether we play 4 or 5 guards. But what I care most about is that other guy that's a really good coach, he's up at nights figuring out, how do I guard them? And that's what we had a year ago. How do I guard these guys? And so, and so we've been playing a lot with a lot of different things. That's what I love about the preseason. But we really won't know until the games get here. And some guys react differently in games than they do in practice. And so that's the hard part about not just us, but anybody in the country. When you get, college basketball is so, it's transient. You got so many new guys. You don't know what they're going to do in your system under the lights and those things. And so that's one great thing about your question in regards, we got some guys that I've seen them play in a conference, semifinal game. I've seen them go win on the road. And so I got to see that from some of our new guys also. So again, but I will tell you this about Tyler. Tyler will be one of our main factors of what we do. He played maybe 7-8 minutes last year. He'll probably play 25 to 28 minutes a game for us this year. And not because of his experience, but because he's earned it.
Coach, circling back to roster turnover, it's inevitable in modern college basketball. From the broadcast standpoint, getting to know some of your new players, what are intangible characteristics that you look for when you're recruiting these guys or bringing in transfers from the portal, or just some character traits overall that are going to help either fit the current established culture you have or an ever-evolving culture?
Man, when you've done this as long as I always wanted guys to come in our program that got a chip on their shoulder. What I don't want to be is I don't want to be that transactional coach. And what I mean by that is that it's just about the money. I'll be honest with you, I'm done when it gets to that. I've gotten too old to be able to do that. And I coach better with guys that got a chip on their shoulder. They feel like they got something to prove. And so I feel like we got a lot of those type of guys this year. They got that chip on their shoulder. They got something to prove. And so that's what I'm looking for in that regards. Generally, if there's a high major transfer that didn't play, I want him to come to play at our level and show, hey, I am that guy that you saw in high school. I thought that's what you saw with Caleb last year. He was at Indiana, didn't play, and came in and became an all-conference player because he kept a chip on his shoulder. And those are the type of guys that I want, that play with the chip and not, one thing I loved about some of those guys is that we've had before is that, no excuses. This might be your last stop. If this is going to be my last stop, it'll be my best. And that's the type of players that I want.
You're returning the preseason conference player of the year. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he had a tremendous year last year, but where do you want to see him be even better this year? In every aspect of his game, defensively, rebounding. I want him to dominate the game, not just with the ball, but without the ball. And so he knows that. His personality has to maybe change a little bit in the sense of being more vocal as a leader.
but just dominate the entire part of it. Last year he was a great offensive player. Be just as good on the other end of the floor. And so it's my job, to challenge him to do that. He's a talented young man. But again, he's got a long way to go to reach his potential. If he gets to his peak, he can play at the next level. But he's got to work every day to be able to do that, and he's got to do it on both ends of the floor.
Hey, Coach, sticking with that, getting Rowan and Asher back, guys like that, how valuable is it having them back on this team?
Well, to be honest with you, it's what I mean by these guys have helped me through all this. When you know that you're going to go into a battle and you got your starting backcourt, and there'll be days that they don't play well, but I continue to say it. I don't think there's a team on my schedule that's got a better backcourt than we have. Now they have to play that way, and they got to play that way consistently. But if you can do like NBA teams do, and I can go make a trade, I wouldn't trade my backcourt for anyone right now because of the experience that they have, the talent they have, and if they can turn it to the point where it's just on the offensive end, they're just as talented on the defensive end, then and that's what they've got to work on. They got to be talented enough on the defensive end, and if they are that, then we're going to have a year that we want to have. But I wouldn't trade my backcourt for anyone in the country right now. All right, thanks, guys.